Hi, I'm Dr. Sherwana Davis, a psychotherapist, here to provide you with this review of Capote versus the Swans, episode 4. And this review is all about a couple of things. First of all, I want to take the time out just to say aesthetically, this was just a beautiful episode to watch from the hair to the clothes to even hearing them, the dialogue. It was just so rich to watch, right? You could really lose yourself in the hour just aesthetically looking at everything that goes on. Now, getting to the heart of the review, there's really three characters that really were the highlight of this episode, even though all of the swans made an appearance, except for, of course, poor Anne. Really, two of the swans really were the highlight of this episode, and that was Slim and, of course, Babe. And then there is Capote. This episode by itself is like, it was just like a mini movie just by itself, right? So I'll start off with Capote. We see in this episode that Capote is still struggling with the loss of his connection with some of the swans, and particularly Babe. And we see him still spiraling. He is definitely suffering from alcohol use, and it is spiraling in his life, and his relationship to John is just unraveling. He's still being abused, and it's quite violent, the interaction with each other. And so there is an opportunity for Capote to actually be rescued in this episode, and that's where Jack comes in. Jack is in this episode. He notices that poor Capote has been abused. He is suffering from alcohol use, and he still loves him, right? He still loves Capote, and he wants to save him. So he arranges for him to actually get some treatment. And so Capote goes off and gets into treatment. And of course, as only Capote could do in this episode, we see that even the treatment is adventurous for him. He has an affair inside of the treatment center with someone. He has an encounter, I'll put it that way, inside of the treatment center. He, of course, is in touch with his artistic ability, and he's actually looking healthy and happy and vibrant, right? And so there is hope as the viewer. We're thinking, this is it. He is going to make it, right? He is also interacting with two of the swans who come and visit him. And it's just delicious to watch all of this unfold in this one episode. And of course, this is not long lived. He exits that treatment facility and he returns back to his life. And anyone who's been in recovery knows that recovery is full of ups and downs. And sometimes when people are entering recovery, it's one thing when someone is in a facility that's protected and they're shielded from the outside world, the way that Capote is. There's another thing that happens when they re enter their normal environment. And unfortunately, in this episode, we see that environment catches up with Capote. And of course, he reverts back to drinking. He reverts back to John as well. I think he's probably equally addicted to John as he is to alcohol at this point. And so, of course, poor Jack sees this, and you know that's how this relationship in this particular episode is left there, right? That Jack is heartbroken, as you can imagine, walking in to see Capote doing this, right? He has not only reverted back to alcohol use, but he has also gone back to John. So that part of the episode was intriguing to watch. The next part of this, I will put in the Slim category. We see Slim actually really, her character really materializes in this episode. And she's kind of like a little Katharine Hepburn to me in terms of her strength on the screen, right? But we see in this episode that Slim is actually having an affair with Babe's husband, right? And we see this unfold in this episode. And partly, and it kind of reveals itself a little bit in the episode, that this attraction that they have with each other may be the result of their shared grief. regarding the loss or the pending loss or the anticipatory loss of Babe. So that could be their connection point. So that was interesting. The other part of this is, we get to really see that Slim is very independent and she wants to control what the Swans are doing and their interactions with Capote. And she's not so successful because she gets called out by Lee for this affair. And so we see that unfold. And of course, she and Bill ultimately decide that they will not engage in this affair. The third part of this episode really belonged to Babe herself, right? We see her actually come really confront her own mortality in this episode where she's given the news about her prognosis from her doctor with this cancer battle. And so she knows that this is the end of her fight. And it's very interesting to watch that with her, that she's not only still coming to grips with her life, but she's still very much grieving this relationship with Capote and how much he meant to her and how much she wants to be with him, right? So that's been interesting to watch, and it kind of makes you wonder, was he the true love of her life? This friendship that she had with him. So that was really interesting to see her not only grieve herself, but also this friendship. And then we see this glimmer of hope. We see her in front of this store window, and you could almost cue up the music, right? When you see her staring, and there is Capote, and he has this choice about whether or not to stay across the street or to actually join her. And of course, he takes the risk and he actually goes and he interacts with her. And that embrace, I don't know about you, but it really touched me when they were hugging because you got the sense that this could be their last time meeting. And so that was difficult to watch, but also very beautiful to watch them interact. And I was so glad that if this is perhaps one of their last encounters, that it was a joyful one and it was one where they were at peace with each other, so that was really good to watch. The other cinematic thing that I think happened was there was this shot in the show, right after they had hugged and embraced, where there is Babe looking across the street at Capote's new friend, who is actually John's, daughter, and we see that she's across the street, and it makes you wonder if Babe is looking at her and seeing a younger version of herself. So, it was just beautiful this episode, and I'm so looking forward to the rest of Capote versus the Swans. Put your comments below and look forward to the next time.